Yeah. Okay, so we've reached out to CPD about this, and they confirmed that this situation is still under investigation.
We may have to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right, welcome back to the Big Picture.
Sorry, a couple technical difficulties.
Hey, our microphones just want to be on the weekend, and we can't blame them.
They're a couple hours ahead of us. They're ready to go home.
All right, well, let's get back to our top stories of the day and afternoon that we're talking about right now. There's a use of force investigation into the Columbus Division of Police, and this all started, let's get to the beginning, with a Facebook post by CPD. Let's pull it up right now. It reads in part, quote, "The Division of Police regards all allegations of misconduct with the utmost seriousness." So hours after that statement was posted, we received a video from a viewer, and then it shows a woman being taken to the ground, and we want to show it to you right now.
Yeah, I think we'll have to restart that video there. But yeah, so you'll see this in a moment once there we go.
Yep, and then
and as you see, officers come up,
flips down, and then they kind of put her arms behind her back.
So this is the whole premise behind this use of force investigation.
Yes. So we reached out to police to confirm whether this incident is under investigation, and we're still waiting to hear back from them, but they did say they are aware of the video, and they said an incident did happen in the Linden area Tuesday evening. So we also contacted the Fraternal Order of Police president, Bryn Steele. He described this action as, quote, "a trained and approved technique classified as a level 1 use of force, which is the lowest level on the division scale." And then we also reached out to the Department of Inspector General, and he says the complaint will be reviewed through the department's internal investigative process. And then the Department of the Inspector General tells us because this is an active investigation, they have no additional information at this time. So we've reached out to Columbus Police for an incident report, the body camera video, the dash cam video. We haven't gotten any of that back yet, but very eager to see what those play out. So once we get that, we'll obviously push
and if you
that
don't know
out.
who the Fraternal Order of Police is, that is the police officers union. They represent the officers within whatever their chapter or their lodge is. That's typically Columbus, Franklin County deputies, etc.
Yeah, so we don't know what led up to that video that was sent to us, but we're going to keep following this story for you.
Yeah, certainly that'll come out in a bit. Now the other big story today. More measles in Ohio. This one came out, just yesterday evening. Franklin County Public Health put out an alert saying, "Hey, if you were at the CVS up on Cleveland Avenue, and this is the one that's up there all the way by Schrock Road,
right?
Yeah, Schrock Road. It's technically Westerville, but it's that kind of Columbus Westerville gray area, but it's Westerville. But so it's that one there, and they said that there was a person with a confirmed case of measles in that store sometime between 9:30 in the morning and 12:30 that afternoon this past Tuesday. Now, if you were there at that store in that time and do not have your MMR, your vaccination, you should continue to monitor yourself for some symptoms all the way up until April 17th. It takes a bit for the first appearance of measles symptoms, 14 to 20-ish days.
And those symptoms are it's coughing, sometimes there's
fever, there's a rash.
Later.
You'll see those, almost not like chicken pox, but kind of like chicken pox. Yeah,
definitely.
You'll get, red, watery eyes. And those are some of the more mild symptoms. They can have some pretty detrimental, and, it is a deadly disease. It is one of the most contagious diseases in the world as well. So we've also had a number of measles cases here in Ohio, really just in the past couple months. I think, let's see, I checked the ODPH's website earlier this morning. They've had 11 so far this year.
11, okay.
Which, looking back a couple years, that's, they've gone up. We've seen significantly more increasing measles cases over the past few years.
In the year 2000, we did not have any measles. Yeah. It was gone.
Yeah.
And now it's slowly coming back.
Right. The U.S. has been considered measles-free since 2000. And that kind of, the premise of that is that enough of the country has been vaccinated or considered immune from measles since then to basically prevent any sort of outbreak. And that level of immunity is needed to keep that status. But in the past few years, we've seen dwindling vaccination numbers. And that means really these continued outbreaks and numbers of new cases could threaten that status of being measles-free. And that would be, do we lose that 26 years later? And to talk a little bit about the vaccine, it's the MMR, it's the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. It's one that, most of us got in school or before school, I guess. But public health officials, the CDC says, one dose of it is 93% effective. But once you get that second, it's a two-parter, it goes up to a 97%.
It's highly effective.
It's highly effective. And so, and to talk about that, the two-shot thing really takes us to those cases that came out in February, because there were 6 cases in children in Columbus that were announced by Columbus Public Health last month, that 5 of those cases were unvaccinated children, but the 6th case was one who was partially vaccinated. They just had that first shot.
Yeah, and then there were cases back in October in New Albany. It was in one household, but 4 people were impacted, the parents and then 2 children ages 1 to 6. The 1-year-old who contracted measles was hospitalized because of it. So that's how serious it can be once you start experiencing those symptoms. You can be hospitalized from it. So I spoke to Dr. Mashika Roberts. She's the health commissioner at Columbus Public Health. This is from back in October, but she speaks about how important it is to get your kids vaccinated and at what time is the best time to do that. Take a listen.
It can be very serious, and that's why the recommendation is there for you to start that vaccine series at 12 to 14 months. They are effective at reducing the infection. They keep kids in the classroom. They keep parents at work or where the parents need to be, whether that's at home or at work.
Yeah, so she talks about the 12 to 14 months. That's kind of like the golden time to get that vaccine that doctors recommend, but you can get it anytime after that. New Albany, the school district, had to hold a vaccination drive after these cases came out. So, and it was kind of a similar thing where the first person didn't, similar to what's happened now in Westerville, the person didn't know they were experiencing the symptoms, and they went into Target, the New Albany and Target, and everyone had to be alerted there in that Target who worked there and who had been in there that they could have possibly been exposed to measles if they are not vaccinated. So it's serious.
And let's go back to that, being measles free, what it takes to reach that herd immunity against something is, the public health experts, whether that be local public health or, national, is that, it's a 95% need in order to keep that away. for the 24-25 school year, we've really started to see vaccination rates among kindergartners drop because it's one of those you had to have it to come into school, and that's kind of been dialed back. But the CDC reported just 92.5% of kindergartners had it, so that is below that 95% rate that public health officials say is needed in order to prevent an outbreak.
Yeah. So we'll keep following that as well. Hopefully no more cases pop up, but we will obviously monitor all of that. So, all right. Well, we're talking basketball when we come back from this little break. It was a rough game.
Yeah.
I got a text from Collin. He says, "Whoop, we lost."
Yeah.
Rough.
I was watching that one.
But the
hurt.
women's, they still got a chance.
The men couldn't pull it off, but the women can.
They couldn't in football either. What's going on? Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. Tyvis Powell joining us in the next 2 minutes. Our mics, like I said earlier, our mics are already on with the weekend vacation. So they're ready to leave work. But okay, so men's basketball, we unfortunately lost, and our Adam King, he spoke to head coach Jake Diebler about it, and he was really emotional. This is what he had to say to Adam.
Jake, you're obviously emotional. It's going through your mind. The season comes to an end, but you did get to coach your first March Madness game, and you saw your team respond in the second half.
Yeah, thought that was, 20 minutes of kind of what we've been about all season. Playing together, playing tough, showing the fight necessary to win. We came up one play short there in the last 20 minutes. But, yeah, it was an emotional locker room. I asked these guys in June to embrace being a family and to embrace being one of the hardest working or the most hardest working team in the country. And those two things our guys followed through on all season long. We overcame adversity all year, overcame the adversity of this game like this team has shown. We got a great group of guys on this team, and I want them to remember, this journey and just as much as, the outcome.
What game kind of indicative of the season? The first half kind of didn't go your way, and then down the stretch, that looked like an Ohio State team that everyone thought could make a run in this tournament. Heard you were very emotional, fired up at halftime. What'd you say to the guys to get them to come out and truly fight like that?
Just wanted to see our team out there, and wanted us to just be who we've been, and they did. This is a group that's responded all year. Certainly, wish we hadn't been in that hole going into halftime, but like our guys have, they showed the fight and the resiliency to get out and took the lead and. Did some things really well, just not quite enough, down the stretch. But, yeah, it was never a question of if this team was going to respond. We knew they would, and yeah, they did. They sure did.
What was the play call there? I mean, you put the ball in Bruce's hands in the final March moment. That's probably how you draw it up in the fall.
Yeah, we wanted to get him on the run, and we had outlets down the floor, for him to advance it and make a decision. He got us to this point, and the ball needed to be in his hands to help make that deciding factor. And I don't know what happened exactly down the court. My eyes were more fixed on him. I thought TCU did a good job corralling the ball, and maybe that blocked his vision on some of that stuff. But, man, he had a big-time shot, a couple possessions before. Just proud of him and what he's done, and proud of this team.
Would you share with him after the game?
That I love him, that he'll always be a part of our family. And I think it's not just him, it's all those guys. Like, those guys bought into what we wanted to do, and we took an important step for our program, and he was a huge reason for that.
A lot of guys returning here. Amari took a major step this year. Mobley helped.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, you can watch that full interview on our website right now at 10tv.com. But Tyvis, you can see he's really upset about this.
Yeah.
Why does this hit so hard for him this
Because
year?
I think that when you look at where the program was before he took over, and it was, it's been a lot of push and pull with the fan base and him this year. This team was underachieving, and then at the end of the year, they put it together. Mm-hmm. They lost some very close games to some competition. And, in those tough moments, it's when you build the relationship and you get closer with your players. And you think of a guy like Bruce. I mean, he's been with these guys their entire year. I know he wasn't the head coach, but he's been on staff for a lot of these guys' entire careers at Ohio State. And watching them go out in the fashion that they did, you wanted to really shock the world. And unfortunately, you didn't get it done, so it's emotional.
And we can't discredit, the performance of yesterday altogether. They were down,
15? Yeah.
And came back.
Yeah. The fight is there. You could tell that they play for each other for sure. I think that the only thing about the game that I was sad about was that I wanted Bruce to have a more dominant performance. Mm-hmm. I think he finished the game with 10 points, and you're talking about a guy who's historically, statistically, the best player to ever play at Ohio State when you talk about scoring points. And to your final game to only have 10 points, I thought that was a huge disservice there. So I didn't like that. And obviously the talk of the town is the last play that they drew up. It was very head scratching. Obviously, you wanted to be a better look at the 3-point line, but unfortunately, that's what makes the tournament the tournament.
Yeah.
But hey, we can't dwell on the past.
No, because we got women's
talk
basketball.
about women's basketball.
Yeah. What do they have coming up?
Well, they're playing Howard. I expect them to go out there, and if they continue to play how they finished their season, they were playing phenomenally on defense. They do a really good job at shooting the three. Jelani Cambridge and Chance Gray is unbelievable at the 3-point line, and Kennedy Cambridge, the sister of Jelani, is a defensive menace. She gets steals, guards the best player, all of those things. If they play that way and they play that press where they suffocate that team, they will beat this Howard team. And I am looking forward to seeing them play, hopefully, Notre Dame in the next round. That Hannah Hidalgo versus Jelani Cambridge is like Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. We have to see it.
That'll be a good game. We actually, Dom DeBerry spoke exclusively with the head coach. Let's pull up that sound really quick.
I don't think we got that one. I might have forgot to put that one in.
Maybe we don't have it in there. It's okay.
Anyway, how was Fire in the Cannon last night?
Oh, it was awesome. It was
it?
amazing. I was so fired up. I was ready to go on the ice and play.
Yeah.
And I've never played hockey before, but I was ready to go down there.
So what'd you have to do? Walk us through it.
So you get up there and they give you the tutorial. They say, listen, this is what you do. They're going to play the national anthem. Then they're going to announce you. The spotlight's going to go on you. They're going to announce who you are, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to give you the fire poker that's already lit.
So it was lit. It
was lit, yes. So they said all you do is take it and you put it in the hole and boom, it's going to shoot the cannon. Now, apparently, this is more difficult than I thought it would be because a lot of people struggle. Me, I got up there, raised the crowd because they had a good ovation, put it in there, boom, the cannon went off, and I
Perfect.
was like, let's go. And I was ready to roll. It was an amazing night. It really was. I was fired up.
That's awesome. Well, hey,
right.
thank you for joining us today.
y'all.
Have a good weekend. You'll see.
Enjoy some of this weather.
It's going to be
Yeah,
so
you
nice.
too.
I know.
80s
Yes.
on Sunday.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right,
And
when we
you'll
come
see,
back.
Yeah, Tyvis will be with us Monday too.
Yep.
Alrighty, good
We're
stuff.
talking the changes in the intoxicating hemp law.
Yep.
In a couple minutes. All right.
Welcome back to the Big Picture. We have Jay Fox with the Ohio News Network joining us now.
Woo!
Yeah, we're
It's
talking.
the weekend.
Almost.
We
are almost there. We got
30 minutes.
30 more
Okay.
minutes on the clock. Hey, take it away though. Talk to us about this new hemp law that went into effect, Senate Bill 56. It starts today.
So if you want to go to a convenience store right now and get a THC infused hemp beverage, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the group that was opposing Senate Bill 56, they fell way short of the 250,000 signatures that they needed because they were trying to take this and make it a statewide referendum for the voters to decide in November. Well, they fell short. So as a result of that, the law goes into effect. Now, this is something that the governor has been championing for a long time.
He says intoxicating hemp products have been putting children at risk.
Well, that's what he said. And, you know, you think about the risks of the drugs to children, but look at the packaging. When you look at the
Yeah,
market,
and I know
some
we've
video
got
of
some
it, yeah.
pictures of that if we can pull that up here.
Yeah, they look like normal
They're a
candy.
solid dupe
Yeah, they
of
are
a real product.
Candy Kush, like I mean, I would know that means like a reference to THC, but a
kid
child
don't. The
probably
kids don't.
wouldn't.
Well,
Exactly.
no, you just look at something that looks cute and
Colorful.
then it's colorful, and then you put it in your mouth, and whoops.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
you feel horrible.
That's a problem. Well, there's another side to this story, and that's the economic side. So this particular law has put a lot of people out of work, and it has either reduced staff or completely shut down manufacturers. And the estimates are a $2 billion loss in revenue for the state of Ohio. $2 billion
And,
know.
I know
What about-
Texas is dealing with this as well
Texas
right now.
too, and I mean, I spoke to one of those manufacturers. Like they operate literally down the street from our station, and he has had people canceling orders. He's had orders he's already produced, and he has nothing to do with them. They have to like get thrown away, basically.
They have to destroy the product by law.
Yeah.
So all that goes away. They can't even sell it to like Michigan that doesn't have that law.
And now you can only get those products at dispensaries.
Right.
Yes,
Correct?
It has
Okay.
to be a medical dispensary.
Okay.
So
Alrighty.
they're tightening the news.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what they're doing.
All right, let's go up to Toledo.
Oh, we have
This
good
is a
news.
big announcement for Toledo.
Part of my heart's in Toledo. My family's from there, so.
Okay, so for those of you know, the glass city is Toledo.
Yes.
But it is
My grandpa
also...
worked in the glass factory up there.
Really?
Yeah. mhm.
That's cool.
I know.
General Motors has been a part of Toledo forever. And this one particular transmission plant, it's called GM Propulsion Systems. They've been around literally for 70 years. Well, if you work for General Motors and you live in Toledo or Detroit, you fear that maybe your job may be taken away. It may be outsourced. It may go somewhere else. GM has doubled down on Toledo, and they made a $40 million commitment to increase production at that factory. And remember, these are the folks that make the transmissions for the Chevy Equinox and other GM vehicles. So now these workers, they can breathe a little easier today because they know that GM stands behind Toledo.
Yeah, that's
And
a big deal.
Toledo, I mean, is big with the auto manufacturing because
Oh, yeah.
Chrysler's got the plant, or Stellantis.
Stellantis
has the
now,
plants up there, yeah.
They make Jeeps too,
Yeah,
right?
make the Jeep, it made the Jeep Renegade, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those were the folks that they were on strike for a while.
Right,
this past
right.
year.
The Auto Workers Union, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good
So-
news for
It's got to be
Toledo.
tough to be an auto worker in today's world. It really does.
There's
But good
always
news for
constant
Toledo.
changes. Yeah. Toledo, Toledo needs the boom.
They do.
I mean, everything's going electric. I just bought a car recently, and I was at Lexus, and they were talking to me about how they are going to not be having any more like gas cars in the next couple of years. It's all going to be moved to electric.
Okay.
Well, because Honda is
Isn't that
building that
crazy,
massive
though?
battery plant
Yeah.
in kind of between here and Cincinnati, and then which is going to supply the Honda plant over in
Yeah.
Marysville. So a lot of changes in the
as
auto
A
those
industry.
lot of
companies
changes.
are going all electric, General Motors has said they're going to double down
Right.
on gas-powered
Right.
engines.
Yeah.
Which,
So,
as the tax
interesting.
credit's gone,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see
more
it all
people
flip
have-
around.
Yeah. So all
Absolutely.
right.
Jay, thank you for coming on today.
Always a pleasure.
Have a good weekend.
to you
Yes,
both.
Yes,
you as well.
absolutely.
Enjoy the weather. All right.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Welcome back to the Big Picture here on
Yes.
10 TV. Plus, Carla Rogner joins us
Hey
right now.
there.
Good morning, guys.
Carla, good
Thanks for
morning.
coming on.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
We made it.
We
now,
did.
this is a story. We're talking about Avery's Law. It's one that you've covered for
I feel like
quite
it's
some
close to
time.
your
While now.
heart. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we've gotten to know Avery's family over almost the past 2 years. It's been since that awful attack. We first met her mom outside the hospital when Avery was still at Nationwide right after the attack. It was June 2024, so we're coming up on 2 years. And it's been amazing to see how much progress she's made since then. but then also how quickly this law happened as well.
Yeah, take us back to the beginning of her story. What happened with the dog attack?
So she's from Reynoldsburg.
Okay.
She was on a play date and there were 2 pit bulls there, and something happened and the pit bulls attacked her, and it's awful. We have the 911 call we see when EMS first goes there, and she was really badly injured. The dogs, they ripped off one of her ears.
Yeah, we have a photo we're going to pull up really quick.
She had undergone a lot of surgeries. Yeah, that's very
horrible.
right at the beginning there. The firefighters that responded to the scene, they connected us with Avery's mom originally, and we met them both at the hospital there and first heard about her story. And yeah, that's what happened. I mean, it really can happen at any time.
Well, and I think, have you covered one of these dog attack stories? I know I
covered
have.
one in Dayton when my first market I worked in, and it was a horrible story. A pit bull, same thing, literally like mauled a 3-year-old's face. It was horrible.
And then in Asheville in 2024, there was the case of Joanne Eckelberger. She was 73. She was out gardening at her condo complex and was attacked by 2 dogs, and she unfortunately died.
Wow.
And it was one of the dogs, when the officers got there from Asheville, was shot because it started running at an officer. The other one ended up running off and killing somebody else's small dog over by the Taze Valley High School. So the 2 people, the owners of that case, are currently serving a 14-year prison sentence, up to for involuntary manslaughter as part of their charges.
So now we have Avery's Law, but kind of walk us through, how did Avery's Law even come to be?
Yeah, well, they wanted stricter penalties for owners of dogs that allow this to happen. Like you were mentioning, in some of the cases we've been seeing since Avery's attack, we've been seeing a lot in Columbus. And a lot of times it's dogs that are just, not being contained properly, or they're just out. There was an attack in Franklinton. The dog just ran from who knows where and attacked a random neighbor. So Avery's Law will make it more, make the penalty stronger for the owners of dogs who are not properly containing them and allowing an attack like this to happen, especially if they know that the dogs have an inclination to be dangerous. So what Avery's Law will do is it will impose stronger penalties on owners. It really depends on the situation, but in Avery's case, the owner of the dogs that attacked her, she was sentenced to, I believe, 4 days in prison, and she could serve them on 2 different weekends, and about a $500 fine or so. And Avery's family was really unhappy with that. They felt like she should have, been held accountable in a stronger way. So Avery's Law will do that, but it will also allow the dog wardens after an attack to seize the dog immediately and then take it to court right away and allow a judge to decide whether that dog needs to be euthanized or if it needs to undergo some training. And that's in cases where the dog seriously injures someone or if they kill someone.
Because I remember before this, especially when we were covering the Eckelberger case, it was, the dog laws were so loose. It was on a municipality by municipality case. Different cities had different ordinances.
Yeah, really, this is the first of its kind. I feel like strengthening.
Yeah, and the dog wardens
penalties.
were really fighting for this too. They said this is going to make their job easier and help them keep the community safer as well. And in Avery's case, at the sentencing, we heard that the Humane Society was actually there because they'd been holding on to one of the dogs. One of the dogs had been shot in the incident, but they had to care for this other dog for maybe like over a year or so after the attack, and it was really hard for them to care for it. So this would speed up that process and allowing a judge to step in quicker as well.
And who did you speak with Wednesday?
We spoke to Larry Williams. He's the Licking County dog warden, and he was super involved in this whole process. He was coming to some of the hearings as well. He was there when the governor signed the bill into law a few months ago, but he was really pushing for this. I think we have some sound from him to share.
Let's play it.
So if you're sitting at home with a dog that's been designated dangerous, you got to get this insurance now.
That's going to be based on each county. So there are some counties, the prosecutors that will say, yes, they have to get it now, even though it was passed. Some counties saying no. So I would check with your local dog warden, call them. If you have a dog that's been designated dangerous in the past, call them, see what that county has to do, because that's varying from county to county, from prosecutor's office to prosecutor's office.
So there's lots of nuances in Avery's Law and lots of little details here and there. So what he was talking about is changes that it makes for people who have dogs that are designated vicious versus designated dangerous. So I believe that's if your dog has attacked someone or acted violent in the past. And he says that now you might need a new insurance, but every county is kind of handling that differently. So what he recommends doing is if you have a dog that is designated dangerous, call your local dog warden and ask them what you need to do in order to be compliant with Avery's law.
Wow. And you were there at the signing when that happened.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah. What was the energy like in there? How are they feeling about that?
Well, the cool thing about this is it passed unanimously, which we don't see a lot nowadays. It passed unanimously in the House and the Senate, pretty quick process. So everyone was really supportive of this bill. The representatives were there. Avery and her family, of course, were there. They've been speaking up about this at every step of the way there, and they were really excited to see that happen.
Yeah, and there's something happening today, right? What's going on?
They're celebrating tonight in Reynoldsburg at City Hall. So what's actually interesting is Reynoldsburg was really quick to act where this attack sadly happened. They actually passed the first version of Avery's law right away. So that kind of like laid the groundwork for Avery's law then to go and become a state law as well. Wow. So Avery's family will be there and they'll be celebrating the passage of Avery's law tonight.
Right, because it gives them some sort of, I don't know.
Not closure. Closure's
right.
not the word.
Closure's not the word, but you know where we're going with that.
They're turning their adversity into something positive.
Yes, they're taking action.
Right, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, obviously what she went through was incredibly traumatic and a health concern. And one person could just, succumb to all of that and be upset, not do anything. So it's amazing that her parents were rallying around her and she was willing to do this and get the laws
because
changed.
Now she can say, I did that.
Right.
That this hopefully prevents this happening from another child or happening to another child.
And that's the goal here is to make it more of an incentive for owners of dogs to follow the laws. And that's what the dog warden says too, is now it's more important than ever to make sure you're following and abiding by the laws and keeping your dog safe and the community safe.
Yeah, it's accountability.
Those dog wardens too, they have a hard job. They have a lot of dogs in there and they all behave differently. Their hands are full a lot of the times. So it's just, something people don't really think about too when all of this goes down. So, hey, Carla, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Alrighty. Well, we'll be right back after this short break. Hello, welcome back to the Big Picture.
Adrienne Mayfield joins us. She's our special projects producer.
She's normally behind the scenes.
Yes.
But she's coming in front of the camera today.
Never
Throwing
on
her in the
camera.
fire. Yeah.
Yay. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So we are talking the growth of Central Ohio, and one big factor into that is Anderl's new facility in Pickaway County.
Yeah, it's pretty major.
The defense industry.
Yeah, it's pretty major. was, I remember when the governor put out his kind of like press release-ish about it. And I remember being in the newsroom because they hadn't named the company yet. And people were guessing, what's this going to be? What's this going to be? And I said, it's definitely Department of Defense. Like, you don't get that kind of buzz if it's not something big. And then it ended up being Anduril, which they're not a contractor technically, but they are contracted by the Department of the Defense for billions and billions of dollars. So that was a huge deal. And then what they do is very different and very interesting than some of the other industries we have here. So, you know, I learned a lot through this interview with Palmer Luckey.
Right. And Angela Ann, she got to exclusively go inside Arsenal 1.
Yeah.
Which is where they will be building these automated fighter jets, correct? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, it's called Fury.
Fury.
And he calls them a fighter jet. When I say he, I mean Palmer Luckey. Very proud of Angela for getting that exclusive. He calls them fighter jets. They're essentially drones, right? They're autonomous weapons. The whole idea is that, I think in his interview, he talks about not having to put people in harm's way unnecessarily, and that's part of the point. That's just one of the things that they build. But yeah, in just a couple of weeks, they're going to be building these autonomous fighter jets, these drones. They're an autonomous weapon making company, so they use AI to do that.
And part of his interview with Angela was talking about the importance of being able to make these here in Ohio. And we can take if you want to pull that up, Zenobia. It's that first one there, 47. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of problems with the U.S. technology development and procurement systems. Certainly, our manufacturing supply chain is not nearly as advanced as China. Look, I used to be part of the problem. I made millions of virtual reality headsets in China at my previous job, Oculus VR. I started a virtual reality company when I was 19 years old, sold to Facebook. Worked on VR there for a few years before they fired me, and I've spent a lot of time in China. I've had teams of hundreds of Chinese engineers. They know how to get stuff done. They are an incredible power.
Okay, and that was Palmer Luckey talking about why he feels like it's important to make these here in Ohio.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing we hear over and over again as we're doing our Boomtown reports is what he's saying. Ohio makes it really easy for people to do business here. They're tax friendly, they're business friendly. We have a lot of space. You can't just build Arsenal 1 anywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you need the space for that big boy.
Right. And Bryn and I have talked that, Ohio has a lot of deep connections to the defense industry. I mean, Dayton is...
We have Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
I think Collins Aerospace does some stuff down there.
NASA in Cleveland.
And Adrian, before you were here in Columbus, you were out in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
Which, it is just the military.
Right. Like it is.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's the largest naval base in the world, Naval Station Norfolk, but then 15 other installations. There are every service member that you can imagine is represented there. So for me, coming to Ohio from 10 years in Norfolk, it doesn't feel as military heavy or defense heavy as it actually is. So now that I've lived here for a little bit, done some reporting here, I realize you have the Air Force, you have the National Guard, you have the Coast Guard, but you also have the defense industry, right? You have the Andurils, you have the supply company here in Columbus, Ohio, which is an active installation. So Ohio is very proud of its defense history. But the thing about defense, right, is that pie gets bigger and it shrinks. And it depends on what's happening in Washington or what's happening in the globe. So in a community like Norfolk, where you have over 80,000 people who are in the military, you have the third highest population of federal workers who are civilians, you are very, very defense dependent there. When that pie shrinks, all of your spending shrinks. In a place like Ohio, Central Ohio specifically, you want that here. But we are also very diverse here. So you have banking, you have healthcare, you have the Ohio State University. We're not overly dependent. So those shockwaves that like boom through communities like Norfolk, they're a little bit softer here. And we hear that a lot too when we're talking to people, is like, it's really good to have an Anduril. It's also really good to have everything else we have.
Right. And this is different growth than we've seen elsewhere, because a lot of the times we're talking data centers.
Yeah.
And, data centers, once construction is complete, really don't employ that many people. It's like maybe a staff of 12.
Yeah.
And this, we're talking
4,000 in the next 10 years.
It's a lot of people.
And when it comes to those 4,000 jobs, who's who will be employed?
Well, Palmer Luckey dropped out of college to go like virtual reality headsets. And I think he says directly in that interview with Angela, I didn't go to college. You don't need to go to college either. They're looking for people, he describes them as smart, hardworking, and people who want to solve important problems. I think it follows an interesting trend that we're seeing here in Central Ohio is some of these jobs that are being created, the jobs that are going to pay well, they don't require that traditional degree. And while we do have amazing educational facilities here, we are seeing like this boom of tech jobs or manufacturing, engineering.
Technical jobs.
Yeah, jobs that they're not necessarily jobs that you need to go to college for, but they are jobs that you need to be able to like adapt quickly with because we're talking about AI companies.
Right. We're talking, all these tech jobs because I mean, most of our industry in the past has been so, steel and that kind of oriented. I mean, not steel in Central Ohio. That's
but like
Youngstown,
we're talking about the
Cleveland,
glass factory,
the glass
in Toledo,
factory in
like
Toledo.
physical.
A lot of it's manufacturing. I mean, we're still sticking to that manufacturing sector, just in a different way.
It's changing a lot.
I want to play the other clip that we pulled up of Lucky Palmer. This is how he describes himself, and this is who I think he's looking for in his new employees.
Right.
Described by every word that you can think of, right? Eccentric, the Pentagon's it guy, he's out there, Hawaiian shirt guy, whatever.
That's
How
right.
would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a singular individual. I am what I choose to be and nothing else. I think that people really can be what they decide to be, even if it takes them a while to get there. And the most annoying thing is when people have contradictory impressions of me. There was a time where you had some people saying Palmer is anti-Semitic, and then the other side saying Palmer Luckey is this horrible Zionist who loves the Jews. I'm like, I mean, without even taking a position on you, why can't you guys just agree on what I am? It's like calling me fat and skinny at the same time. Pick an insult. But yeah, if I could describe myself, I am me. I'm a technology entrepreneur. You know what I really like to say? My dad used to say growing up, think like a problem solver, not a problem creator. Because if you're really smart, you can come up with a million reasons to not do something. You come up with a million problems as to that can't be solved. And I'd say if I could describe myself in one way, Palmer Luckey, problem solver, not problem creator.
Okay.
So describing himself as a problem solver, not a problem creator, does that kind of go to the kind of folks that he wants to employ?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole goal of Anduril, right? Like the way that they describe it is they're trying to hyperscale and they're trying to solve problems. So they're trying to solve your problems quick.
How did he get into the virtual reality headsets and then transition into the defense industry?
I actually don't know how he made the pivot. What I do know is that he had a passion for virtual reality. And so that's how he ended up in China working on those. And that business went really, really well. I don't know how he got into defense as an interest, but obviously I think he's been in that AI, that tech, and so it's
that space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the military too, like we don't know the intricacies of everything that they do and all of the weapons and tools they're using, but I'm sure AI isn't new territory to them. It's just evolving.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the changes because when I think of, I know they're not a government contractor, but our contractor with the government kind of quasi weird. Anyway, I think of the people like Lockheed Martin and Collins Aerospace, British Aerospace, and now we've got these folks like Anduril and Palantir coming onto the scene that are really names that have only started popping up in the last couple years.
Yeah.
So kind of in the same vein, a lot of what we've talked about in Central Ohio's growth is the housing crunch. And so we're bringing more jobs and it's going to in turn bring more people.
Yeah.
How are we trying to combat that?
How are we going to
make
house
that
these
easier?
4,000 people?
I know, that's the question everybody's trying to answer. I mean, we see efforts all throughout the different communities on how they're going to try and solve the problem. I think like what I've heard from the building association is one of the bigger issues in this region is not like a lack of workers or even a lack of like ability and land, it's code and zoning. So you see like the city of Columbus is trying to reshape its zoning code right now to make it easier to build. Other communities have done their own version of that, and then some maybe don't want the growth so much. So I think that's a real challenge because that's going to determine where people live. And not everybody wants to live in downtown Columbus or even in Columbus. Some people want to live in the suburbs. So they are all trying to find the answer to that question. They know that they need to build faster.
Right.
We all know it because we all pay to live here.
And evidently, Angela Ann is watching while on
Hi, Angela.
while she's out today.
What'd she say?
She says he got into defense because of his grandfather in the military.
Okay.
So we got an answer to that
Angela,
question.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Angela.
for watching,
What
Angela.
what are the key parts of that interview Angela did with Palmer Luckey that stuck out to you?
You know, one thing that stuck out to me, and I really don't know. I mean, everybody's going to have a different opinion on this. So I would encourage you guys to go to 10 TV Plus and to watch the full interview. It's about a half an hour. He talks about the ethics of these weapons and the ethics of how to use them. I thought that was an interesting part of that discussion. I think it's something that every person individually is going to have their own opinion on, but it opens up like an interesting conversation about AI, right? We as journalists are always talking about ethical use of AI, knowing that that conversation is transcending throughout every
avenue of everything.
Right. Like
It's
they're
in
trying
everything.
to figure it out. They're trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how to ethically use it and also what are the limitations of it. He's building these things fast. So,
Really fast.
Yeah, really, really fast. So I'm curious to see how it turns
So
out.
tonight, the new episode of This Week in Boomtown drops. What can we expect?
Okay, well, you can expect a lot of Andrel.
Okay.
But you can also expect some soccer stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know we're a football town, but we're like a football town. It just, you know what I mean?
Right.
You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So This Week in Boomtown, when does that run?
It is every Friday night at 9 p.m. You can drop it, but you can also stream on demand. That's just the new episode.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Adrian, thank you for coming
Thanks
on
for
today.
having
This was
me.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
fun.
We'll be right back in a couple minutes.
Welcome back to the big picture.
Dom Taberry's back.
Hey, Dom.
Hello, it's nice to be here with you. And the men are gone, but the ladies are kicking it off tomorrow. The Ohio State women's basketball team's march to the Final Four is tomorrow. They're hosting a team called Howard. The Bucks are the 3 seed. Howard's the 14 seed. And let me just say this. This has been an amazing coaching job by Kevin McGuff. This team started the season unranked. Now they're ranked 13th in the country, and they're good enough that they're a 3 seed hosting. They got the Cambridge sisters, Jelani and Kennedy, and I think this team can make. Now they got to beat Howard tomorrow, 11:30 in the morning. Who schedules a game at 11:30 in the morning?
Who schedules anything
You can
at
get your
11:30?
celebrating done afterwards. You got a lot of time to celebrate after.
But then they're going to play Monday, probably against the 6 seed Notre Dame, 3-6 seed.
And that's a huge game, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Notre Dame's loaded. They got a great team too.
Can you talk to me more about these sisters? They sound like awesome.
Oh, Jelani's amazing, and Kennedy's come into her own. Kennedy's the older sister, the big sister, but Jelani's amazing.
That's probably pretty fun playing with your sister.
Yeah, it is, and it's this team is fun. They like each other. They've got a lot of chemistry, and for you folks that have not been to a women's game this year, this is your opportunity. There are still some tickets left through Ticketmaster, and get out there and support the Buckeyes.
Absolutely.
And you talked with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to go see him here in a little bit too.
Yeah.
Today is the open practice media day, so I'm heading over there. But yeah, I love Kevin McGuff. I think I told him to his face. I said, I think you've done your best coaching job this year.
And I think we got a clip of what he's going to say tonight. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, no, we love our fans. They've been incredible this year, and so we're hoping that the Shot can be a really tough place for Howard to play at 11:30 on Saturday.
Come make some noise. You'll feel. You need the energy, right?
We need the energy, and we need our kids feed off of it. It's been a huge part of our success this year.
Coming up later today,
Yep.
Look at that. That's me looking good, huh? Anyways, no, but the bottom line is they feed off the fans. And they're going to need the energy. As I said, it's at 11:30 in the morning. Again, who scheduled that? 11:30 in the morning.
But hey, this is the Buckeyes' chance to keep going in March Madness.
I know. That game yesterday was rough.
Right. But hey, like I keep saying, they came back from a big deficit. That is points for something.
Yeah, and you said the women's team, they weren't off to the best start this year.
No, they surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it has been a steady incline, and they've gotten better each week.
So we've got 2 minutes left here today.
All right,
tell me about
where
what's
this is
going on
going.
with Bigfoot.
Yeah,
All right, here's
this
the deal.
Bigfoot thing, what?
I have been studying it, and there's been supposedly 8 sightings in northeast Ohio, Trumbull County, up there near Youngstown, up near the Cleveland area. And I don't know if it's real. I've not seen any Bigfoot specific. Do you have a picture, Z? Do we have one?
Yep, there it is.
You found him.
So I cannot confirm nor deny that this is a picture of me with Bigfoot, but this apparently happened. And I was in the woods minding my own business, and I was just in the woods making duck faces. Sometimes I do that.
In a full suit with your glasses on.
I don't
just
often,
hanging out over Youngstown.
I don't often walk in the woods, but when I do, I go in a sport coat with my readers just so I can appreciate nature, and I like to make duck faces.
And then you got dinner too with Bigfoot, you think?
Well,
we don't have that picture, but you went
everything is good. I don't know if you can. This happened.
Hold it up to
right
the
there. Can you see?
There we go, everyone. There.
Yeah.
Oh, there we
go.
You're
fighting.
I was attacked by Bigfoot.
Oh no!
Oh, shoot. And I think it was Bigfoot got a little jealous because I went out to dinner just with a friend. We're just friends, and I think that is